Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little different. I wanted to share with you guys resources that I have used that have helped me financially as a single mom. And these are all tools that I'm sharing that I either currently use or I have in the past used, and they've really helped me out. So I want you to think of me as your friend or as your sister, helping you get these resources so that you can thrive as a single mom. I mean, with the increase in inflation and just in general, single moms, you know, it's a real challenge to make it financially. And maybe you're a new single mom and you are living with family. That's where I was. And you want to be able to get out on your own, but you're worrying about how am I going to be able to make it financially. Some of these tools, some of these resources can help eliminate some of that strain, because they did for me, and they helped me make it possible for me to be able to live on my own so that I had less bills that I had to pay monthly. So I'm going to share those with you today. We're going to start with ones that are state resources. So I can't give you guys the exact links because I live in Washington State and I don't know what state you live in. By the way, these are all things that I've used living in the US, living in Washington State. But most of these resources I think are eligible like in all 50 states. So that's the good news. But the bad news is I can't share with you the links to it, but I will share with you how to Google them and find these resources. So the first one is state health insurance. So here in Washington State, it's called Apple Health. I don't know why I said Apple. Well, that was weird. Apple Health Insurance or Medicaid. Medicaid would be like the general term for state insurance and health insurance. This has been extremely beneficial to me. I have had both of my children being on state health insurance, and they literally covered everything, all of the medical costs. So even when I was married, I was on this state insurance, and it's really helpful. So I want you guys to know the things that the state health insurance covers. So it covers like all your medical appointments. You don't have to pay like a copay or anything. It's paid for prescriptions. I think maybe only one time in the however many years since being a mom, 10 years that I've been a mom, I've had to pay for something, for a prescription. Everything else has been covered. It has paid for procedures, like surgeries. I guess that would be like a birth. And there's some other unique things that it covers that maybe you weren't aware of, like dental appointments. It's covered all my children's dental appointments. It does cover adult dental routine exams, but it wouldn't cover things for adults like getting braces or certain more specialty treatments. Another unique crazy thing that it covers, and I think this might be more recently in the last few years, is acupuncture. Have been able to get with the free state insurance, I don't know if it was 6 or 8 rounds of acupuncture, which was so awesome. I had never gone before, but when I saw that it covered that, I was like, that's worth trying, because I was having really bad knee pain and it helped me incredibly with getting over that knee pain. So that's so cool. And it's like such a blessing to live in a country where there are resources for low-income families to get the health care that they need, like such a huge blessing. And the nice thing too is, even though it's a little trickier to find like a dental provider that takes the state insurance for adult care, not so much for children's dental care, it's quite a bit easier. But when it comes to medical care, like so many places take state insurance for medical care. Maybe more specialty things like naturopath appointments, I've had a little bit trickier, definitely a trickier time, but just like a regular doctor, like I was able to see the same doctor that I had seen as a kid with this state insurance. The second state kind of resource is food stamps. Now, I know, and this is something I want to bring up in these conversations about being a single mom or being a low-income mom, is there is an element of it's hard to ask for help. It is hard to receive benefits, even benefits from the state, because maybe the stigma you feel with that, like, oh, like I don't want to be having to receive this help. I don't want to have to be paying with groceries with food stamps. But these are really huge blessings that we can receive, and food stamps have been an incredible blessing to me. So food stamps, if you have never used them before, I think maybe they used to be like actual like paper stamps that you would like give to the check stand person. I'm not sure how that worked, but now it's just like a debit card that you have, and you can go to like so many stores, like pretty much most stores take a EBT. It's called an EBT card. And what they do is they take it off of your income, how many people are in your family, how much money you get deposited on that card every single month. And you can use that money, wow, to get groceries every single month. It will deposit on your card every single month, the same amount. And you do have to go in for like different recertifications, like every 6 months. They just want to make sure your income hasn't changed. And then every year you do like a recertification where you might have to send in your documents of like your pay stubs or things like that. And all of these resources, they do take work maintaining them and just applying for them in general. But like I said, it's so worth it. It's so worth the work, because if it helps you as a single mom be able to get a place on your own or not work as much so you can be with your children, then these are really worth it. And of course, we look at these options as not something that we're going to do like indefinitely. Our goal is to be more self-sufficient, but they're just an absolute blessing for us in the season of life that we're in, as long as that season lasts. So another cool thing with EBT cards is that you can, at least in Washington, there's certain like museums where they will give like major discounts if you have an EBT card to go to them, or to like the zoo. So that's always worth looking into. So the third resource that I wanted to share with you guys is another state resource, and this would be specifically for single moms, not really low income moms that aren't single parents. But I want to share this with you because I didn't know anything about this, and it was very beneficial for me. So did you know that even if you don't have a court order for child support, a parenting plan, you can go to your local division of child support office, usually, which is in the DSHS, that's what it's called in Washington State, the Division of Social and Health Services, and you can apply for child support. So this would be for people who don't have a court order yet, but they need to get child support. They're not receiving it from the children's dad, and you can apply for this, and it's pretty easy. It's like you fill out these forms, and I remember going in the office, and they will start deducting that child support. It will start adding up until you actually start receiving it from the other parent. And so that's a really huge blessing, a really huge help if you are at the point where you're like, okay, we haven't gone to court yet. I don't know when we're going to go to court, but I do need to start receiving child support. Then you don't have to get a court order to be able to start receiving child support. So I would look at your local division of social and health services office, call them, ask them about that. They are very helpful. These people, like, this is what their job is, to help you get the financial help that you need, whether it's food stamps, or child support, all of those things. And so utilize those resources. You may be on hold for quite a while. Not saying that from personal experience. Actually, I am. You may be on hold when you're calling these state-funded programs, but it's worth it. Hang out on hold. These resources are very helpful. Okay, the next resource that I want to share with you guys is WIC, which probably most of you know about WIC, but if you don't, I just want you to hear about this. So WIC is for anyone that is like more of a low income family that has children under the age of 5. And with WIC, they give you kind of like a credit to be able to buy certain food items like peanut butter and eggs and milk and things like that every month. And maybe you've seen those little WIC signs in grocery stores. It used to be, when I did it, they gave you these like coupons, and you'd have like a coupon per item. So you'd have like a coupon for 1 peanut butter, and it was such a pain because you knew that when you're going through the checkout line, it would take forever because they'd have to match up each item with the coupon. But now they have like, I think it's a card similar to like the EBT card for food stamps, and they just load it on there. I don't know exactly how it all works because my kids are past that age, but that is another great resource. And I know that you can use WIC as well as EBT in combination. So the next thing I want to share with you guys is something that I have used in my community. I don't know what communities they have it in, but it is electricity, help with electricity. So I know that with my local electricity company, they have a low income program, and they will give you a discount ranging up to different percentages on your monthly bill. And I had to at the time submit like my records of my income, my earnings, and I was able to get a discount on my electricity bill. The next resource I want to share with you guys is, I could probably do a whole video on this, but I'm going to just say it really short, just to put a little idea in your head. If you need legal help, say you are going through the separation process, or you're going through the divorce process and you need help with that, or you're trying to apply for child support, and that is, I would not have known this, and that is that if you don't have like a lot of assets that you are trying to divide up with another of your children, or you know that it's not going to be really like a contested situation, you don't necessarily know. This is not, don't just take my legal advice with a grain of salt, okay? This is just my experience. I'd rather say this is my experience than this is advice, because everyone's situation is absolutely unique, but you don't necessarily need a lawyer. And I used a paralegal for all of my legal paperwork that I did. I never had a lawyer. I represented myself basically in court, went to court by myself, and it cut down so much, because I've heard from a friend of mine how much it cost her for all the legal fees, putting down the retainer. It was a lot of money. And so if you don't necessarily need to have a lawyer, look into finding a paralegal. Now, the paralegal that I used was like a friend of a friend. So I can't give you like a certain organization or something to look into, but I just want to put that little thought in your head that that's an option if you think that maybe you don't need a lawyer to represent you. This would save you so much money. And she helped me immensely with all the paperwork, the piles and piles of paperwork. Another resource when you're doing legal work is that courthouses, at least where I live, they often have what's called a court facilitator. And the role of a court facilitator is to help you get your legal documents prepared and ready to go, so that when you go to court, you have it all together, and you pay a fee. I mean, this was years ago that I did this. I think it was like $25 to meet with this court facilitator for an hour, and it was at the courthouse, and they help you just make sure you have everything together. So if you are representing yourself, it's very nice to just have your ducks in a row, make sure you have it all ready to go, and you can ask them any questions that you need. The last thing, well, actually I have two more things to share, is there's a lot of local resources for single moms that are totally worth looking into in your area. There's food banks, and sometimes like in our area there, I remember, I didn't ever use this, but I remember someone asking me, hey, do you need coats for your kids? Our local community is doing like this coat drive, and you could go pick out coats for your kids, which is really neat. And another resource that I actually use was, I have a friend and she works for a pro-life organization, and they have this local place that they do free oil changes for moms in need, single moms in need. And I was able to go there one time and get my oil changed for free and have my car looked at. So that was really helpful. And so even just looking into like pro-life organizations in your area, and maybe you could even call them if there's like a number and say, hey, like, are there any resources that you know of? Because I'm trying to make it financially as a single mom, and I'm wondering what you guys offer, what you know of is offered in the community that we're in. Don't be ashamed to ask for help. This is what these people are here for. They want to help you. They want to provide these loving resources for you. And the last thing that I couldn't not say in this video, because it's been a huge blessing and gift in my life to make it financially as a single mom, is my church family. And my church is a very generous church, and I'm like so that is just so wonderful to be able to say. I'm like so proud of my church, not anything of like me doing it, but just like my church and how much they value supporting families in need. And like, I remember during COVID, I never have asked for money from my church, but I remember during COVID, like receiving a pretty good sized check. And that was so helpful during that time, like when I couldn't work. And there's been other times like at Christmas where I received something. Again, I didn't ask for something. One Christmas, our church does something where it's like a penny drive where the junior hires, they raise like, I think it's like, you know, you donate your pennies and they raise all this money and then they use that money to go out and buy Christmas gifts for low-income families. And so one year I got a call saying, would you like to receive these Christmas gifts this year? And they wanted to know like the things the kids were interested in and all of that. And so that Christmas I received Christmas gifts from our church. Like they were all wrapped and ready to go. And even though it was so humbling accepting that, being like, yes, I need that help, like that was really special to be loved and cared for. And even our church has a local, it has a food bank at our church. So a church is a great resource if you need financial help. But I want to preface that with saying that it's so important to be involved in your church. Sometimes I think people can just look at the church as like a place for them to receive help, but they're not investing in the church. They're not involved. They're not attending regularly. It's just the like, oh, if I need help, then I'm going to use the church for something. And I don't believe that is at all how God intended it to be. Like we need to be involved in the church body and serving in the way that we can serve. And then in turn, we can receive help as well. But I just would so encourage you to get involved in your church. And when you need help, that's okay to ask for help. But don't just be a taker, be a giver as well in your church. So those are the resources I have to share with you guys. If you have any other things that you're a single mom and you benefited from, or maybe you're not a single mom and in your community you know of other resources or other state-funded resources, whether it's state or local or in your church, I would love to know. Let's drop those in the comments so we can help other single moms that may watch this video thrive in the season of life they're in. You've got this. By the grace of God, He's going to carry you through. Just be faithful to Him each and every day. And that's all I have to share with you guys today. All right, talk to y'all later.